I am my mother's fourth child and my father's 39th. And even though that's the first line in my book, that's not something that I used to tell people, not even people I was close to. Honestly, I was guarded about my past, and I carried a lot of personal shame about where I came from and about my childhood. And you all might think that my childhood is unique, but I'm telling you about it now because each of us in our lives has extraordinary experiences and pivotal moments that make us question our place in the world. And so our personal challenge is really knowing how to respond to those situations in ways that make us stronger and more resilient. And for me, looking back on my life and taking the opportunity to write about it, I've discovered personal attributes within myself that I know have helped me create a life I love outside the limits of the rigid fundamentalist upbringing I had. Our house was really porous, and so in the wintertime, the wind blew right through the adobe bricks in the house, so my mom would take that round galvanized tub. And it's the kind of tub, actually, that I use now to chill beer and wine in when I host friends. But back then, it served a very different purpose. And in order to keep us warm while she bathed us, my mom would take that tub and she would put it in the living room next to this barrel heater. And the barrel heater was made out of an old oil barrel, and we burned chopped wood in it to keep us warm. And it was really the only source of heat that we had. So we moved between his wives' houses, did the best we could, and within just a few weeks of my mom passing away and my little brother passing away, as my stepfather walked in the door, he said he decided that he wanted to take my sister Elena, who was 4, with him on his next work trip. And at that point, an alarm went off inside me. And I just had this mother bear instinct explode. And I looked him in the face and I said, "You're not taking that little girl anywhere without me." So when I took custody of my sisters, they were 4, 6, and 8, and my mom's youngest sister was living in Southern Oregon. And I packed up this old 2-door Monte Carlo and I put my sisters in it. And we moved to Southern Oregon into this single-wide, bright yellow, 2-bedroom, 1-bath trailer. It was pretty tight, but I was so excited to be on our own. We had lived with other people for so long, and I just wanted us to be a family. And so I went to a yard sale, and that's one thing that my mom definitely gave me is the ability to survive and to do the best I could with what little we had. And so I bought this couch for like 10 or 20 bucks. I put it in the living room of the trailer, and it didn't fit. It was way too big. And so the arm of the chair, of the couch, went into the hallway, and my little sisters had to jump over the arm of the couch or squeeze around it to get from the hallway to the living room. I also didn't know how to budget. I still don't know how to budget. But I did open a bank account. I learned how to write a check, and then I immediately learned how to bounce it. I bounced checks. But I did the best I could with our situation. We were on welfare. I was working part-time. I was making $6 an hour working as an accounts receivable at a wrecking yard. And I could pay the rent, with everything, putting all the resources together that I could. But honestly, it was so interesting because when I thought about it, and even when I was writing my book, I thought about my mom in that year, the year of how-tos, of domestic education, and I remember how badly she wanted me to be a good wife and a good mom. And she and I, during that time that I loved so much with her, had no idea of the heartache and tragedy that was coming for our family. And that I would be there one day on my own raising her children. But that's how my life played out. And it was exactly the life that my mom always lived in her 30s. Even in spite of all of that education that I had, it didn't break the conditioning that I had in my childhood. So I had to be honest with myself about my life and the way that that early fundamentalist upbringing had affected me and my choices and the way it was still affecting me. But for me, it was exciting because I was learning, I was growing, and I realized that if I wanted to live a better life, I had to believe that I was worth it and that I deserved a better life. That's what my therapist and 20 years of Oprah taught me. That I had to love myself first. But I think it's so important that we all believe about ourselves that we're not the victim of our circumstances and that we all have the power to transform and to become our own heroes. To believe that what we have inside of ourselves and who we are, no matter where we've been, no matter where we are now, that we're all stronger than our circumstances. Thank you. Oh, I can see you. Thank you.